So, what if I told you that you could do twice the work in half the time? I know, it sounds completely impossible, right? But today, we're going to dive into a framework that promises exactly that. And we'll do it by telling the story of how it saved a massive project that was right on the brink of total disaster. This whole story really starts with a number: $405 million. Just let that sink in for a second. That's how much money the FBI had already burned through on a critical new computer system by the year 2010. And here's the kicker. For all that cash, the project was a year late and only half finished. Experts were saying it would take another 8 years and $350 million more just to get it done. It was an absolute catastrophe, and with lives literally on the line. This is the story of how they turned that whole mess around. Now, to get how they fixed this, we first have to understand the real problem. And it wasn't a lack of smart people or money or even hard work. The problem was the system itself. The fundamental way they were trying to get things done was just broken. And you have to understand, the stakes could not have been higher. The FBI's old system was all paper files. It was dangerously obsolete. As Senator Patrick Leahy pointed out after an earlier failed attempt to upgrade their tech, this inability to connect the dots had real life-or-death consequences. This was never just about software, it was about national security. You see, the FBI, like most big organizations, used a method called Waterfall. It looks amazing on paper. You get these huge, beautiful Gantt charts and documents detailing every single step from start to finish. There's just one problem. It's a complete fantasy. The second it makes contact with the real world, the whole perfect plan just falls apart. And that brings us right back to this monster number. The waterfall method is exactly what blew up in the FBI's face with their second attempt, the Sentinel Project. By 2010, they'd gone through that $405 million. They were a year behind, and new problems were popping up faster than they could solve the old ones. The project was on a direct flight to total, catastrophic failure. So, facing complete disaster, the FBI did something radical. They threw out the entire plan, the charts, the binders, all of it, and they embraced a totally new way of working called Scrum. This is where the story pivots, from failure to, frankly, remarkable success. So what on earth is Scrum? Well, think of it as the polar opposite of that rigid, top-down waterfall thing we just talked about. Instead of one giant plan, Scrum is all about being adaptive. You break a huge project into small pieces, you build something that actually works right away, you get feedback, and then you adapt. It's a self-correcting loop. And look, this isn't some fluffy, feel-good management theory. It's a real-world weapon. As the venture capitalists at OpenView Partners put it, the results are so clear and so powerful that for companies, it really boils down to two choices. You either change or you die. It's that big of a competitive advantage. And this chart, this just says it all. Remember that original estimate? Another 8 years to finish the Sentinel project. Well, using Scrum, the new team delivered the entire second half of the project in just 18 months. And they did it with a smaller team and for only 5% of the money they thought they'd need. 8 years versus 18 months. It's staggering. Okay, that result is just wow. But how? How does this actually work on a day-to-day basis? Let's peel back the layers and look at the actual mechanics of the Scrum framework. It's surprisingly simple, really. Scrum boils everything down to just 3 roles. No other titles, no project managers, none of that. You have the product owner, who's responsible for the what, the vision for the product and the list of things to do, prioritized by value. Then you have the team. This is a self-organizing group that decides how to do the work. And finally, the Scrum Master, who's like a coach, helping the team work better and clearing any obstacles out of their way. All the work happens in these fixed-length cycles called sprints. Think of it like the heartbeat of the project. A sprint is usually 1 to 4 weeks long, and the goal of every single sprint is to produce a real, working, valuable piece of the product, something you can actually see and use. This creates a powerful rhythm of progress and constant feedback. And every single day of that sprint, the team holds a quick 15-minute huddle called the daily stand-up. Now, this is crucial. It's not a status report for a boss. It's a sync-up for the team. Each person quickly answers these 3 questions, and in doing so, the whole group stays aligned, problems get surfaced instantly, and everyone knows who needs help. The process itself seems almost too simple, doesn't it? But the results are just off the charts. So what's going on under the hood? What are the real secrets that unlock this kind of hyperproductivity? At its absolute core, Scrum is about one thing: the relentless elimination of waste. This idea comes straight from Taiichi Ohno, the genius behind the Toyota production system. He believed that waste wasn't just a loss for the business, it was a crime. And the entire Scrum framework is designed to hunt down and destroy waste in all its forms. One of the biggest, most criminal sources of waste is something we all do, and we even brag about it: multitasking. But the data is absolutely brutal. The more projects you're trying to juggle at once, the more time you lose just switching your brain from one context to another. If you're juggling 5 projects, you could be losing 75% of your time to pure waste. Scrum kills this by forcing a ruthless focus on one thing at a time. All right, the next secret is all about understanding value. You know that old 80-20 rule? Well, it turns out that in almost any product, 80% of the value people get comes from just 20% of the features. The magic of Scrum is that it forces you to identify that critical 20% and build it first. You deliver the most important stuff right away instead of getting lost in the weeds building the 80% of features that people barely use. Now, this next secret, this might be the one that surprises you the most. We tend to think that success makes people happy, but it turns out we've had it backwards the whole time. Study after study shows that happy people are more successful. Happiness actually predicts high performance. So Scrum being Scrum, it doesn't just hope for happiness, it actually measures it. At the end of every single sprint, the team asks these simple questions. But that last one, what one thing would make you happier next sprint? That's the magic bullet. That one thing becomes a top priority to fix. By systematically removing what makes people unhappy, you systematically remove the roadblocks to great work. So you can see how this all works for building software or fixing a broken government project. But this way of thinking, this focus on adaptation, value, and yes, human happiness, it's so much bigger than that. The Scrum framework is now being used to tackle some of the world's most massive problems. For instance, take a look at education. In the Netherlands, there's a movement called EduScrum. Instead of just listening to lectures, students form teams, they break down the entire curriculum into a to-do list, and they basically teach themselves and each other in these short sprints. And get this, the results are just mind-blowing. As the creator, a chemistry teacher named Willie Winan says, the students take total ownership. They even assign themselves homework. Their test scores shoot up, sure, but more importantly, they're learning how to collaborate and solve problems, the exact skills they actually need. Or let's go to Uganda. The Grameen Foundation is using this exact same framework to help poor farmers. They use Scrum to quickly build mobile apps that give these farmers access to critical info, like what price their corn is selling for in the city market. And the result? Farmers have doubled their yields and doubled their profits. That's not just a statistic, that's changing lives. You see, Scrum is really more than just a process. It's a mindset. It's this deep belief that things can always be better, combined with a simple, powerful way to constantly check in, adapt, and improve. So the real question this whole story leaves us with is for you. Are you content with the way things are? In your work? In your life? Or will you strive to make them better?